Is she alive? No? Okay.
She was 23, working as a human resources specialist. Friendly, ambitious, full of promise. But one evening in early August 2021, she drove to the home of a colleague she had only known for weeks. Within 40 minutes, her life would be violently ended. This is the story of Megan Newbrough, a story of trust betrayed, brutal violence, and a chilling cover-up. Tonight, we'll follow how Megan came to know her killer, what happened on that fateful night, the psychological layers behind the crime, and the ripple effects on those left behind. Megan lived in Nuneaton, Warwickshire. She worked at the brickmaking firm Ibstock Brick in northwest Leicestershire. She was an animal lover and had a dog called Frank. She loved dancing. She was the type of girl who had every single detail of her life planned out. I mean, she had this little notebook covered in pink and blue butterflies, and she wrote down all her plans in it. She had decided on her career and had listed the names of her future children. She had jotted down ideas for her wedding, had even drawn designs of wedding dresses she liked. She had all sorts of plans. It was a long list, like starting a family, eating an entire cake, going parachuting, running a marathon, going on a river cruise, seeing turtle eggs hatch on the shore. She wanted a future, a happy one. In June 2021, she met a lab assistant colleague, 30-year-old Ross McCullum, and their relationship began to develop. From the outside, it looked like a brief workplace romance, but beneath the surface, darker elements would come to show: control, obsession, and lethal intent. According to co-workers, Ross had spoken of Megan in inappropriate terms, shown nude photographs of her, and engaged in sexual and misogynistic communications. At its core, this kind of case involves power dynamics, a younger girl trusting a man who may feel insecure, controlling, or threatened. When the dynamics of a workplace relationship combine with obsession and fantasy, the outcome can become dangerous far faster than we like to believe. On Friday, August 6, 2021, Megan left her parents' home around 7:30 p.m. in her white Citroën C3. She told family she was going for a walk with Ross and drove to an address in Caldwell, where Ross lived with his parents. Evidence shows she arrived at about 8 p.m. via doorbell footage and a text message. She did arrive, but she never left. It got later and later, and her mom started to worry. She kept calling and texting her daughter, asking her to pick up or call her back. Just let her know she was safe. But she never answered. After a while, they just decided to call the police. On Sunday at 3:30 in the morning, there was a knock at the door all parents dread and no parent deserves. It was the police. They had found Megan in a remote rural spot near Woodhouse Eaves. Her phone was also dumped. She was half naked. She had been strangled and there were 14 separate injuries to her neck, which suggested that whoever did this was going to decapitate her. Maybe they were going for overkill. But why? She had just started seeing Ross. I mean, it was roughly a month. When they found her phone, there were messages and voicemails on there from someone other than her mom. There were messages from Ross professing his love for her and texting her that she's amazing, asking if she had gotten home safe. All just showing a guy head over heels in love with a girl who had just been found dead. But everything just started unraveling, and before long, the police already knew who the killer was.
We're just looking for Megan. She's been reported missing. Have you seen her at all? She came on Friday. I've been trying to call her loads.
So you haven't seen her since yesterday about, was it 9:30 you said?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Okay.
So I've sent her about, that sounds really creepy, I've sent her about 15 WhatsApp messages. She said she was going to call me when she got home or text me or something. I've sent her loads of like WhatsApps and like, I've rang her up loads.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're obviously worried about her.
Yeah. But she's honestly, she's lovely. I work with her, she's HR, she's a really nice person.
The prosecution's case is that between about 8:15 p.m. and 8:49 p.m., Ross strangled Megan with his bare hands in the front room of his parents' home. Then, to make sure she was dead, cut her throat repeatedly. 14 or more neck wounds were found. Apparently, he had flown into a blind rage when Megan had playfully slapped his leg during sexual activity. But then came the cover-up. Ross placed Megan's body into her own car, drove it without a license, and dumped her body in an undergrowth beside a country lane near Woodhouse Eaves and Beacon Hill Country Park in Leicestershire. He discarded her phone, changed his clothes, and deleted his tracks. And get this, after he got home, he started searching serial killers including Levi Belfield, Ian Huntley, and Peter Sutcliffe. And what do you know? Pornography. What we see here is the endpoint of a spiral. A workplace encounter becomes sexualized, then power shifts. A man feels loss of control, rage erupts, then cold calculation covers the act. Obsession, pornography-fueled fantasies, control, humiliation. All these threads weave together into a lethal moment.
I'm arresting you on suspicion of kidnap. So you do not have to say anything. You may have a defence. You don't want to mention one question, something which you may later rely on in court. Ross, in relation to Megan, can you tell us where she is? Say again. Talk down the police station. Can you tell us here, just quietly? Woodhouse Eaves. What is that? Near Loughborough. What is it though? What kind of location is it?
Charlie Road.
Charlie Road. Whereabouts? In the lay-by.
The trial at Leicestershire Crown Court lasted 6 weeks. Ross admitted manslaughter, but denied murder, claiming he acted in a loss of control linked to undiagnosed PTSD from childhood sexual abuse. However, the jury rejected his defense. On December 12, 2022, Ross was found guilty of murder. And on December 16th, he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 23 years. Judge Philip Head described Megan as stellar and attacked Ross's acts as truly dreadful. Megan's sister, Claire, told Ross, "I hope she haunts you." She detailed the cruel dumping of her sister in a cold field, topless, in the hours she laid undiscovered. The family issued statements about living a constant nightmare. They launched fundraising for the White Ribbon charity, raising funds to help end violence against women. Now let's unpick the psychological anatomy of this case. Number 1. Obsession and power fantasy. Ross had exchanged thousands of messages with Megan, many sexualized and misogynistic. He displayed inappropriate behavior at work. These behaviors suggest a man seeking control and fantasy domination. Number 2. Rage trigger and loss of control claim. Ross claimed a volcano of rage was triggered when Megan allegedly slapped him and invited him to proceed sexually. This aligns with his defense of loss of control. Number 3. Cover up as evidence of intent. The prosecution emphasized how Ross immediately embarked on deliberate actions, disposing of clothes, body, using her car, deleting photos, leaving a voice message telling her how amazing she was. These actions contradict a momentary loss of control and point towards premeditation. Number 4. Victim vulnerability and betrayal. Megan trusted her colleague. She drove to his house. The violence occurred in his home, a space supposed to be safe. The betrayal adds a psychological layer of trauma. Number 5. Impact on family and community. For the family, the aftermath is lifelong. The sister's statement, the father's tears, the community fundraiser, trauma ripples outward. For the public, the case forces us to consider how workplace relationships, sexual fantasies, and everyday control issues can escalate dangerously. What lessons can we draw from Megan's case? Workplace safety and boundary. Even brief workplace relationships can carry risk if power, control, or sexual dynamics are unbalanced. Organizations should monitor for red flags, inappropriate messaging, sharing of images, controlling behavior. Early warning signs. In this case, Ross's behavior at work, sharing nude photos, controlling fabric, were early signals. Megan's arrival at his home alone was another risk factor. The myth of momentary rage. The argument of loss of control is common in violent cases, but when cover-up is immediate and calculated, it conflicts with the idea of a spontaneous act. Victim advocacy and aftercare. The family's engagement with white ribbon and public statements reflect how tragedy transforms into advocacy. Supporting victims' families is crucial. The public's role. Friends and co-workers who spot troubling behavior must speak up. The next tragedy might be prevented by a phone call, a report. This case reminds us that violence against women often begins with control, fantasy, and betrayal, and the everyday setting of a workplace or home can become the crime scene. Megan was a life full of potential. She trusted a colleague. She went into a relationship, but she drove to his home on a summer evening and never came home alive. Instead, she became the victim of strangulation and throat cutting, and the center of a cover-up. Ross will serve many years behind bars, but the pain left behind for Megan's family lasts forever. Her story is a warning, a justice case, and a call to action. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing this video. Comment below. Have you worked in a setting where you saw subtle controlling or sexualized behavior? What steps would you take now? Thank you for joining us on this episode of Crime Alley Documentaries. Until next time, stay alert, stay safe.